now, Smart Club.
Hi, welcome back to the committee program. We are here today doing a French election update in two parts. First, with Ninon Lagarde. Ninon, you've been on the show before, and you were talking to us about the popular primary, which we're going to hear a lot about, and we have heard a lot about, but you have moved on and have a new project. Can you tell us what you're now doing in French politics ahead of this election, which is happening soon, folks, so everybody's
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I've been working with the Primaire Populaire for quite a long time, but now I'm more focused on making sure that everybody who has the right to vote can vote, because it's a huge problem in France. It's super hard to go to vote for a numerous reason. Like the whole system is completely fucked up. Like it's super hard to find where you can vote, how can you vote, and there is a lot of people who are not registered to vote and don't know about it. So right now we are having a huge campaign with like an open 24/7 hotline to help people doing their administrative paper to make sure that everybody who wants to vote have access to vote, and that's already a lot.
Yeah, and I'm actually sad that Julia Doubleday from the show is not here, because this is her number one gripe with campaigns. That's not what you're doing, but is that campaigns actually never do enough how do you actually vote stuff, because like if you lead someone all the way to the water, but they still don't drink out of it, it's a problem. Like you actually need people to get there. Look, we are here campaigners on the committee program. We are not journalists. This will be a slightly cynical thing to say, but I will tell you, in much of the Anglo world and specifically in America, when you're thinking about turnout and voter models, etc., the kind of conventional wisdom is, the more people vote, usually the better it is for the center left and the left, because you get young people and you get marginalized voters, etc. There's a bell curve on that in the U.S. And I was actually someone who, ahead of 2020, said all this voter enthusiasm probably means it's probably decent for Biden, but also probably means there's a lot of new right-wing voters. It turned out there were, right? Like actually Republicans increased their margin. I think we saw in the UK, not only in Brexit, but then in the general election 2019, that a robust turnout is great for the center left, and a really exceptional turnout can sometimes be go in a different direction. Populism to the right, populism to the left. We'll see. What do you think is happening in France? And also catch us up on how the election is turning out. We know, mainly it's a contest between Macron and Le Pen, or was. Now it seems like he's breaking out of the pack. Weave all these things together. Turnout, audiences, who's left?
Okay, so first, we know who isn't voting and who thought they would vote if they were about to vote. So there is two bubbles, like the first one being young people, students mostly. They don't have access to vote because they are moving way too much and don't know where they have access to vote. And those guys are voting on the left, not the center left, but the left. Like, for example, they are voting for Mélenchon, for like 80% chance of voting for Mélenchon. But if we are doing this campaign directed on another type of people, who are people between 30 and 40, who have moved quite a lot, we don't know for whom they will gonna vote, and part of them will vote for the far right. So we are not working on those people and really focused right now on the student, because we want to help the left win in France. Like, it's good for everybody to have access to the vote, but mainly we want to win because we can't have another 5 years of Macron. Speaking of Macron, he is trying to start his campaign, but he's doing that in a really Macron way, which means he doesn't want to have a debate with everybody. He just want to choose with whom he has access. He wants to have a debate. For example, there is a candidate on the far left, which is called Philippe Poutou. He said he doesn't want to have a debate with him because he is the president and he's above him. We're like, and why do you agree to have a debate with Marine Le Pen? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But for now, the campaign is super weird. Like, it's in 8 weeks now, and nothing has started yet. Like, the Primaire Populaire had the result 2 weeks ago, and we know now that Christiane Taubira won and is a candidate, but she still doesn't have the signature that she needs to be a proper candidate. She's still working with the Green, with Yannick Jadot, to figure out whether they should merge their campaign. Like nothing is, it's not a real campaign.
And even
I
merging that
really-
campaign doesn't really break her out of the pack, right? Yeah, I mean, the polling I saw has, Macron in the mid-20s, Le Pen at about 15, and then kind of everyone else hovering between like 12 and 10.
Yeah, it's a super weird campaign, but there is one girl that she is doing great. Is Valérie Pécresse from the Républicain
The center
Party.
right, yeah.
Yeah, the center. Well, right.
Okay, yeah.
Not
It's
center
like Le
at
Pen and
all,
Zemmour seem to just pull everything to the right, so it's hard to even tell
yeah,
for us.
everybody moved to the right, but they are still really on the right. Like for example, she has the same ideas as Nicolas Sarkozy, and she's saying awful stuff on migrants and everything. And she is doing great because the two guys at the far right, Marine Le Pen and Zemmour, they are not doing great. Their campaign isn't working a lot, and people are figuring out that there are clowns, and they are not properly people who can be president. Like they have problem on TV show. They don't know their files, and they are not super serious. But she is good. She has a great team. Her campaign is smooth. She has no problem. She managed to unite the right. For now, she is really, really good, and has a lot of chance to end up in the second turn. Macron is still too, so we are facing a second turn with Macron and Valérie Pécresse.
That sounds terrifying because, I think the kind of obvious what everyone thought referendum, which is obviously what he's trying to do with choosing who he debates, would be Macron, Le Pen, in which he's the only acceptable. Even if you don't like me, I'm the only game in town. You got to vote for me. But with a more Republican Party candidate, like you're saying, it's certainly not in the bag for him in a second round, is it?
Yeah, it's quite new, so we don't know how the voter will change their mind. But in a second turn with Valérie Pécresse on the right and Emmanuel Macron on the center right, she might win because we are a country where people are on the right and not on the center right, and especially this political party, people love it. She's really where she needs to be
at the right moment, right? Only 8 weeks.
At the right moment, she's great, and her husband did some great thing on the left. We were that it's sexist and everything, but she did really great. She sent out her husband on a TV show saying that it was okay to deal with the children and the kitchen for the next 5 years, and people were like, "Hey, she's progressive and everything. She's the president I want to have." Well, she's not progressive at all, but she's so great. Well, we are a bit depressed because on the left side, nothing great is happening. Mélenchon, who is super good is not having a great campaign for now. His meeting
It's
are
hard to
still
catch
great.
fire twice.
Yeah, even though he's still good in, I went to his meeting in Nantes, the one where there were perfume in the room, which is super new. Like it was a really great political show with perfume to help us think about the topic he was speaking about, like the ocean or space or.
Oh, that's so
food and
interesting.
such.
Like olfactory propaganda.
Yeah, and
I'm writing this down.
yeah, it works quite well. I'm sure it works really well with food in France. If you spread the smell of bread, you have the entire audience for you.
Totally.
But even with that, it's not working quite well. And French people mindset are not in the campaign right now, and nobody cares about it. And it's just really disappointing. And we can see that in the voter turnout polls that no one care about this campaign, and not a lot of people are gonna go vote, and that's really beneficial for the right.
Who are, especially because you're down on the ground working in voter reg, like who are the swing voters, right? Who are the actual people who are making their minds up, who don't come from, an ideological place where they already kind of know who their characters are?
The teachers.
Okay.
There are a lot of them, and a huge majority of them voted for Emmanuel Macron in last time. And right now they're super pissed because their minister has done some terrible thing and is not good at all. Is being awful with the pandemic, and all of this work is quite shitty. But the teacher are on the center right, most of them, but right now they're super angry, so the left is trying to help them become angrier and angrier in order for them not to vote Macron again. And it's a lot of people, and I think they will have a really huge part to play in this campaign.
That's interesting. And then where do you find sort of, the perennial swing voters in a country like Italy are the kind of gray economy, gig worker folks? In France, where are those folks coming down? Folks who sort of make up a populist element who does sort of seem like they can go either direction when it comes to candidates.
I don't know that part that well. I don't know a lot of things about people who vote on the far right in France. Like Zemmour is really quite new, and no one tends to understand who is voting for him and who is voting for Marine Le Pen. And there seems to have to be a lot of former left people in Zemmour campaign, but I'm quite sure they will never swing back to the left. So it's really new for us. Like, for example, Marine Le Pen was at the second term 5 years ago, and she nearly won. And then Zemmour appeared, and we thought, okay, he's gonna steal all of her votes. But no, he managed.
He's making his own votes.
He has his own voter, but who are they? I can't understand. Who are they? Where are they from? We still don't understand them. And for now,
I mean, are they of the 10 million French folks who don't vote? I mean, are these new voters who vote for him, do you think?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. A part of them, but they are really, really focused on abstention. For example, if you go on Twitter and you look for who is speaking about abstention right now in France, it's only Zemmour.
Right.
It should be Mélenchon, and because he has so many potential voters in the abstention bubble, but it's Zemmour who is working on the abstention bubble right now. And that's why he looks so angry, and because he has the right mindset to speak to them. But for now, I don't think he's successful at that.
No, which is clearing this way for what looks like a more sensible right, but is in fact a fairly extreme right, to maybe cruise through. This is a very American story. It's funny. The more you're sort of talking about this, the more voter registration problems. The more it starts to sound American.
It's really American. Like, for example, you didn't know who voted for Trump. Like, you were like, who are these people? And we are the same type of shocked people. Like, but who are they? I've never met them. Like, in my life, I have friends on the right, and I know I've met with people who vote on the far right. But Zemmour, I don't know who they are. Where they come from.
And I think one thing to understand when it comes to these voters that we found, or especially with these Trump voters, is sort of values versus policy. So in focus groups in Iowa, with folks who voted for Obama in 2008, voted for Obama again in 2012, and voted for Trump in 2016, this was obviously people who folks wanted to have a conversation with. What's up? So the question was, what's up? And the answer was, I really respected Obama and liked him, and I really liked Donald Trump's policies. And you'd be like, healthcare was a really good example. I didn't like Obamacare. You're like, well, you didn't like Obamacare, which happened in the first term, and you voted for him again. Why, if you didn't like his signature move? And they said, because I understood why he did it. His mother, she died young of cancer. She was sick. This was something that was important to him to address, and so he did his best to address it. And the fact that, and I trust him, and I didn't agree with the outcome, but he's a good man, and it was the good reasons. But when it comes to Donald Trump, it's like, yeah, he may be inarticulate about wanting to kick migrants out of the country, but it's what I actually want. And so sometimes it is funny how people can separate the sort of intention of their leader versus the policy of their leader and accept them both in different ways. And so I think people are more internally consistent than we give them credit for. It's just we don't understand the consistency, and we think that it's political loyalty because we work in politics.
Yeah.
And this is how we work.
Exactly. Yeah, you're completely right. But one thing that will happen in 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, we will have the complete list of real candidates for the presidential election. because they need to have 500 signature of local elected people. So once we have that, the campaign can start. And right now it's super hard to read through this campaign because we don't have the list of candidates and the topics of the campaign. But in 2 weeks we will have them, and we will know where things can move and who can move from here to here. So for now it's really cloudy and gassy, and we're like, yep.
My last question to you is, and thank you so much again for coming on, but when do people start paying attention? You know, when does the actual person, is it once there's an official list and we start to see these things come in? Is there a mailer that comes out from someone? It's like, you know, we have like folks who will send out voter guides at a certain point, you know, actually physically to people, and they start thinking about it.
Well, it starts in 3 weeks when we have the proper list, and at the moment when we have the proper list, the media, there is a rule in France where you have to give the same amount of
this sort of starts the campaign period.
Exactly. And when that happened, we can all the media is only candidate for the presidential election, because there are so many of them, and the media needs to give the same amount of time to each of them. So then the campaign starts, and they are on TV, and there is places where they all are, and they have a huge debate, and then it starts. But it starts. For now, nobody cares about the presidential election. There is no scandal. Nothing happened, and it's quite late for a French presidential election. Normally, people would be way more into the presidential election right now when we look at the calendar, but it's not. And so we wait. But the more we wait, we know that a late campaign isn't good for the left in France, and we need to have a campaign to start right now. But on the right side, they know that people will vote for them and will move, so they don't have to start a campaign too early, because it's way more chance for them to do a mistake or whatever. So
time's on their side.
Exactly.
Yes. Time is always on the side of the powerful and never of the weaker. Thank you so much for coming on. And look, maybe in 3 weeks we can have you on again and actually hear even more of what the official crystallization is, and also more about how voter numbers are looking, because I think that's probably a lot of the real tea leaves to see how the election will go, is who are the new voters and what do they seem to care about.
Yeah, we'll see. But for now, it's really cloudy. But in 3 weeks, everything will be. We will know how many candidates we will have on the left. Maybe 200, we don't know. They still are way too many of them.
La imagen por la cual vale la pena arriesgar la vida, sacrificarse hasta la muerte en los campos de batalla de todos los continentes del mundo.